16. An, an allegory of unfaithful Jerusalem. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, confront Jerusalem with her detestable practices and say, This is what the sovereign Lord says to Jerusalem. Your ancestry and birth were in the land of the Canaanites. Your father was an Amorite and your mother a Hittite. On the day you were born, your cord was not cut, nor were you washed with water to make you clean, nor were you rubbed with salt or wrapped in clothes. No one looked on you with pity or had compassion enough to do any of these things for you. Rather, you were thrown out into the open field, for on the day you were born, you were despised. Then I passed by and saw you kicking about in your blood, and as you lay there in your blood, I said to you, Live. I made you grow like a plant of the field. You grew up and developed and became the most beautiful of jewels. Your breasts were formed and your hair grew, you who were naked and bare. Later I passed by, and when I looked at you and saw that you were old enough for love, I spread the corner of my garment over you and covered your nakedness. I gave you my solemn oath and entered into a covenant with you, declares the sovereign Lord, and you became mine. I bathed you with water and washed the blood from you and put ointments on you. I clothed you with an embroidered dress and put leather sandals on you. I dressed you in fine linen and covered you with costly garments. I adorned you with jewelry. I put bracelets on your arms and a necklace around your neck. And I put a ring on your nose, earrings on your ears, and a beautiful crown on your head. So you were adorned with gold and silver. Your clothes were of fine linen and costly fabric and embroidered cloth. Your food was fine flour, honey, and olive oil. You became very beautiful and rose to be a queen, and your fame spread among the nations on account of your beauty, because the splendor I had given you made your beauty perfect, declares the sovereign Lord. But you trusted in your beauty and used your fame to become a prostitute. You lavished your favors on anyone who passed by, and your beauty became his. You took some of your garments to make gaudy high places, where you carried on your prostitution. Such things should not happen, nor should they ever occur. You also took the fine jewelry I gave you, the jewelry made of my gold and silver, and you made for yourself male idols and engaged in prostitution with them. And you took your embroidered clothes to put on them, and you offered my oil and incense before them. Also the food I provided for you, the fine flour, olive oil, and honey I gave you to eat, you offered as fragrant incense before them. That is what happened, declares the sovereign Lord. And you took your sons and daughters, whom you bore to me, and sacrificed them as food to the idols. Was your prostitution not enough? You slaughtered my children and sacrificed them to the idols. In all your detestable practices and your prostitution, you did not remember the days of your youth when you were naked and bare, kicking about in your blood. Woe, woe to you, declares the sovereign Lord. In addition to all your other wickedness, you built a mound for yourself and made a lofty shrine in every public square. At the head of every street, you built your lofty shrines and degraded your beauty, offering your body with increasing promiscuity to anyone who passed by. You engaged in prostitution with the Egyptians, your lustful neighbors, and provoked me to anger with your increasing promiscuity. So I stretched out my hand against you and reduced your territory. I gave you over to the greed of your enemies, the daughters of the Philistines, who were shocked by your lewd conduct. You engaged in prostitution with the Assyrians too, because you were insatiable. And even after that, you still were not satisfied. Then you increased your promiscuity to include Babylonia, a land of merchants. But even with this, you are not satisfied. How weak-willed you are, declares the sovereign Lord, when you do all these things, acting like a brazen prostitute. When you built your mounds at the heads of every street and made your lofty shrines in every public square, you are unlike a prostitute because you scorned payment. You adulterous wife, you prefer strangers to your own husband. Every prostitute receives a fee, but you give gifts to all your lovers, bribing them to come to you from everywhere for your illicit favors. So in your prostitution, you are the opposite of others. No one runs after you for your favors. You are the very opposite, for you give payment and none is given to you. Therefore, you prostitute, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. Because you poured out your wealth and exposed your nakedness in your promiscuity with your lovers, and because of all your detestable idols, and because you gave them your children's blood, therefore I am going to gather all your lovers with whom you found pleasure, those you loved as well as those you hated. I will gather them against you from all around and will strip you in front of them, and they will see all your nakedness. I will sentence you to the punishment of women who commit adultery and who shed blood. I will bring upon you the blood vengeance of my wrath and jealous anger. Then I will hand you over to your lovers, and they will tear down your mounds and destroy your lofty shrines. They will strip you of your clothes and take your fine jewelry and leave you naked and bare. They will bring a mob against you, who will stone you and hack you to pieces with their swords. They will burn down your houses and inflict punishment on you in the sight of many women. I will put a stop to your prostitution, and you will no longer pay your lovers. Then my wrath against you will subside, and my jealousy will turn away from you. I will be calm and no longer angry, because you did not remember the days of your youth, but enraged me with all these things. I will surely bring down on your head what you have done, declares the sovereign Lord. Did you not add lewdness to all your other detestable practices? Everyone who quotes Proverbs will quote this proverb about you. Like mother, like daughter, you are a true daughter of your mother's who despised her husband and her children. And you are a true sister of your sisters who despised their husbands and their children. Your mother was a Hittite and your father an Amorite. Your older sister was Samaria, who lived to the north of you with her daughters, and your younger sister who lived to the south of you with her daughters with Sodom. You not only walked in their ways and copied their detestable practices, but in all your ways you soon became more depraved than they. As surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, your sister Sodom and your daughters never did what you and your daughters have done. Lord, your sister Sodom and her daughters never did what you and your daughters have done. Now, this was the sin of your sister Sodom. She and her daughters were arrogant, overfed, and unconcerned. They did not help the poor and needy. They were haughty and did detestable things before me. Therefore, I did away with them, as you have seen. Samaria did not commit half the sins you did. You have done more detestable things than they, and have made your sister seem righteous by all these things you have done. Bear your disgrace, for you have furnished some justification for your sisters, because your sins were more vile than theirs. They appear more righteous than you. So then be ashamed and bear your disgrace, for you have made your sisters appear righteous. However, I will restore the fortunes of Sodom and her daughters, and of Samaria and her daughters, and your fortunes along with them, so that you may bear your disgrace and be ashamed of all you have done in giving them comfort. And your sisters, Sodom, with her daughters in Samaria, with her daughters, will return to what they were before, and you and your daughters will return to what you were before. You would not even mention your sister Sodom in the day of your pride, before your wickedness was uncovered. Even so, you are now scorned by the daughters of Edom and all her neighbors and the daughters of the Philistines, all those around you who despise you. You will bear the consequences of your lewdness and your detestable practices, declares the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I will deal with you as you deserve, because you have despised my oath by breaking the covenant. Yet I will remember the covenant I made with you in the days of your youth, and I will establish an everlasting covenant with you. Then you will remember your ways and be ashamed when you receive your sisters, both those who are older than you and those who are younger. I will give them to you as daughters, but not on the basis of my covenant with you. So I will establish my covenant with you, and you will know that I am the Lord. Then when I make atonement for you for all you have done, you will remember and be ashamed, and never again open your mouth because of your humiliation, declares the sovereign Lord. Okay, so this was a lot. This is quite a bit here in just this first portion. Listen to what Ezekiel is telling us, that the Lord is giving the information that's coming from him. And so he's telling about Israel. He's telling about everything that has happened, about Jerusalem. Then I passed by and saw you kicking about in your blood, and as you lay there in your blood, I said to you, live. I made you grow like a plant of the field. Because going all the way back, you can see how things happen all the way back even to Adam and Eve. Even though they both sinned, they ate the part of the apple they ate an apple that they were not supposed to eat. And so the Lord they end up bringing sin into the world because of the freedom, those choices. And basically, maybe not necessarily brought sin into the world, because Satan did that since he was already there, but they created the first sinful act of humans. So even then, and as we go and learn, the wages of sin, which we'll get to in the New Testament, is death. It's payment of blood. It's death. So everything that we're seeing and hearing is a reason why, it's pointing to the reason why we needed a savior. And the Lord is done over and over again these covenants with the people over and over again, and the people have broken it. Israel has broken it. Jerusalem has broken it. And not only did they broke it, but they were doing detestable acts. They were going 100% against the commandments of the Lord. And so much so that the Lord had to, every now and then, he has to step in. He has to step in and allow for consequences to happen. And so in this case, for learning, for growth, for understanding, and seeing what is bad and what is good. The Lord declares and shows us his righteousness and shows us what's good, because we don't necessarily see it all the time. We start getting into our own feelings, our own concerns, what we believe best benefits us, which in this case, Jerusalem was doing. They were not protecting the poor. They were filled with hate. They were doing detestable things. They were doing exactly everything opposite of the 10 Commandments and of all the commandments and laws that the Lord had provided Israel, and doing it so much so that they were doing it even worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. Remember what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah was completely wiped off. They were wiped out. Lot ended up being able to leave. His wife looked back, turned to salt or pillar of stone or salt. Different translations say different things. But the reason for that is because the people became so wicked that they had basically a heart of stone, and they refused. They rejected the Lord. They rejected the worship of the Lord, of the Lord our God, and completely 100%, even in their heart. So the Lord was like, okay, this is full on wickedness, and it cannot continue. There's a time limit. And we'll see how important time is throughout the Bible. Time is, wow, Lord, he made time for a reason. So remember, the Lord's outside of time. The Lord is the past, present, and future. He's already seen everything. All of creation is within time. That's right, including the devil, including sin, including wickedness. All of that is in time, and the Lord has already defeated it. We'll get to that anyways as we continue. So there's a lot here, and he's describing, okay, not only that, but even your brother Abel or Cain killed Abel, and constantly throughout there was conflict of the things that the Lord was trying to bless his people with, and there was always jealousy and conflict, and all the way to enslavement in Egypt, and then bringing them out with a strong arm, giving them precious jewelry, precious items, and then those surviving through 40 years, not being rusted, not being torn, them being, that is amazing. That is amazing. Do you have something, bring past to present, just even on that, do you have something that you can say, maybe that has been passed down from generation and it still works, or it's still as good as it was made eons ago? That's hard to come by. And we can say, technically, we can say that there is degradation, or there is some type of weakness to whatever that is, because over time, molecules, etc., things start to break down. Whereas what the Lord provided Israel leaving Egypt was perfect. They didn't break down, they didn't rust, they didn't wear out, their shoes or sand, everything was just perfect. Brand new, not dirty, brand new. And so the Lord's like showing us example after example. Look, you were sinful, but I cleaned you up. I made the covenant with you. And I've done all of these things for you. Instead, you refuse, because things were so good, you wanted to not help others. You wanted to not be a reflection of my love. You wanted to be filled with jealousy, hate, envy, you name it. Going down the list of the commands and not loving the Lord. And so he was telling them, as he always does, he always says things up front. He always is always telling the truth. The Lord is good. He is a good shepherd, and he's once again trying to get through the people of Israel, the people of Jerusalem. So bringing past to present, like I mentioned, there are different things and different parts in our life that we can see. We can see whether it be items that have been bestowed upon us, whether it be wherever we are in a walk in life, be understood that all the good things come from above, and that there's not one thing time and time again I hear it's luck and this and that. There's not one good thing that we can control. There's not one thing that we can control. It's in the Lord's timing. So give him honor, give him glory. Remember to do so. All the time, whenever you can, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, before a meal, after a meal, you name it. Give the Lord glory, because he is the one. He is the good shepherd. He is there to protect and save, and he's already provided the salvation. He's already won the battle for us. So he's just reminding us over and over again, because we tend to have a short memory. Before we go on, though, what kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind when we read over this? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think?